Mr. Al Burstein. As a former Democratic majority leader in the Assembly, he co-sponsored the bill that created the Gubernatorial Public Financing Program, one of the hallmarks of this commission, and he is also a former member of the commission.
You're going to hear a great deal, ladies and gentlemen, about the non-partisanship or the bipartisanship from all of us assembled here. Certainly we value that kind of characteristic, particularly because it seems to evaporate in current public life to the detriment of our democratic system. But let me step back for a moment and pick up on something that Bruce Schluter had to say about the difficulty in getting through to ultimate enactment as law, the legislation under which this commission now operates. I was born and brought up in Jersey City, New Jersey, and as of November 22nd, 1922, and I don't want any of you to do any math in your head now, because you're going to come up with incorrect answers. At that time, Jersey City was just emerging to its exalted place as one of the most corrupt towns in the United States. And the reason, of course, was that there was a gentleman named Frank Hague, who was then a commissioner under the Commission form of government in Jersey City, who ultimately became the mayor for several decades and died in the, I think, early 1950s, having worked his skin and bones to the very maximum that he could, amassed a wealth of something like $11 million with an apartment in New York City, and had a salary at maximum in his public sphere of something like $8,000 or $8,500. That was at maximum. Either he was a most wise individual in his investment strategies, and today would have been a hedge fund manager at the very minimum, or he would have been the most corrupt mayor in the United States, and I opt for the latter. So I only bring that up because I want to impress upon you the kind of atmospherics that existed at that time. Jersey City, together with a lot of other urban communities in the state, were badly managed. And they were badly managed largely because people went into public service not for the love of serving fellow man and woman, but rather to make whatever they could in the way of illicit dollars. And it happened in Jersey City, it happened in New York, and Boston, and Chicago, and eventually it spread like a disease through the rest of the United States. When I first became interested in seeing what I could do or contribute as part of the lawmaking process, it seemed to me that the landscape was bare of any existing law. Usually when you come into a subject area that you haven't dealt with before, you have your staff do the research for you, they come up with some models that guide you together what you think is what makes sense for your environment. I found that except for the state of Oregon, which at that time had a rather lame and weak set of restrictions on contributions and expenditures, long before Buckley versus Vallejo and Citizens United, et cetera, so that we were working in uncharted waters. But slowly but surely, and that mention of John Lee was the first name, and he was superb because he could put together paragraph after paragraph of legislation that met your objectives, met your needs legislatively. And slowly but surely, we came to the point where we had usable material to present to the other legislators. And they were a little suspicious of us. They did not gotten up to this idea of restricting contributions, as Bill well knows, and making disclosure about them. And yet, even with all of those pitfalls and all those obstacles, we were able to move ahead to the point where 40 years, like a blip of an eye, is past, and we are now emerging a mature, thriving agency. Now, there have been some hits that have been taken in the whole field of legislative finance and legislative restrictions, whether it be through the U.S. Supreme Court in the cases I just mentioned, or in other ways in which there have been snippets of things that we have unfortunately seen happening, largely the result of very severe lobbying efforts. But nonetheless, I'm the kind of a guy, frankly, who looks at a glass half full or maybe even 3/4 full. And as I look ahead, it seems to me that the rightness of what this function is performed on a daily and monthly and yearly basis in ELEC is the wave of the future, not the past. We can look to the past. It gives us some instruction as to how we got here. But as I look ahead, I think that it's not going to take another Watergate, but it's going to take the advocacy of citizens who are interested in seeing democracy work in this country. And with that, I say thank you to all of you for giving me this opportunity to reflect a little bit on the past. Thank you.